Hello there, you Awakening Wonders. Thanks for joining me today for Stay Free with Russell Brand. Wherever you're watching us, we'll be on Rumble Premium and Rumble for the next hour, watching an extraordinary controversial documentary that alleges that Princess Diana was sort of murdered by conspiracy. What's amazing about it is that even though it's, 30 years ago, it functions as a piece of almost nostalgia porn. Not that I'm suggesting you should use it in that manner. The world has changed. But what is clear is that however Princess Diana died, like so many high-profile public events, the story we are being told has definite anomalies and contradictions in it. So whether it's the murder of JFK, the falling of the Twin Towers, the Epstein list, where is that list, by the way? It seems that there's an official narrative and then an ulterior narrative that's usually concealed, because the conclusions you would draw if you were given the truth is that you can't trust the media, you can't trust the establishment, and existing technology should be used to devolve power to its smallest possible units, which would mean we would all live in parallel economies and democracies. It's available to us now. Then there'll be no need for tension. Let's get into this film. It was made by the actor and I suppose broadcaster Keith Allen from the UK, whose daughter Lily Allen's a big pop star in the United Kingdom, or certainly was at one time. Have a look at it. Let's watch it with our crew here. Beloved Jake, ever present. You right, Jake?
Oh, yeah.
Care about the royal family?
I do. This, watching this now, it's like you believe it probably was planned.
That's right. It's one of those things where you'll start watching it and you'll think, in studio also is Isaac. You are Jewish and therefore probably was somehow involved in the murder of Diana for one way or another, I'd imagine. Certainly one of the ancestors. I mean, they get their hands in a lot of pies.
Wasn't it your king?
Well, yes, it seems likely from this. It's the current King of England. God bless you, Your Highness. And straight back from the UK is beloved Luke. Did you liked it, did you, mate?
Oh, I absolutely loved it. I got to get out of America ASAP.
No, stay here. Don't be disloyal. That country's turned on me, as you're well aware. Did you see any? Where were you? Mostly Oxford, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's mostly Oxford. I went to London for a little bit, but I stayed in Wycliffe Hall in Oxford, so I got to walk around and see the schools and everything, and it was remarkable. It was really cool.
Oh, beautiful. Hey, Massey, we're the only people that are sort of at least tangentially British. Have you watched this before?
I haven't watched it, no, but I just want to explain to Luke, because Luke has no idea how big a deal this was when Diana died. The best way to put it into context.
Well, because he's too young.
Well, he's too young, but Diana dying is our 9/11. No, actually, better way of putting it is 9/11 was your Diana. That's how big it was for us.
Really?
She's a lady
I had no
Trump.
idea.
You've never it's Marilyn Monroe meets Trump. She was a sort of
princess.
She's a people's princess. She heralded power. She was the end of the age of glamour. I can't believe that Luke doesn't know about it, and yet he calls himself a Christian. This is an interesting insight into conspiracies generally, the British establishment, and the power of independent media to tell new stories. The reason I'm so interested in it is because when I first tried to watch it, it was really repressed and controlled. Like first time I watched it, it had Russian subtitles.
Now they're like, give them this, give them this.
This will distract them.
Do this.
Don't think about the Epstein list.
What list?
What list? Look about Diana. Do you know we murdered her? Think about that for a while. Lee Harvey Oswald, the poor fella, he was a charity worker and an adorable communist. Let's have a look now. Let's get into this documentary. I just press play.
Yes.
No.
Bit of saxophone coming.
It's a little more like ethnic, you might say. That's an interesting sort of baseline we're going for, given we're in Paris with Diana. A lot of these people, I don't think gave interviews. I think they've pulled archive. Like, I can't imagine that. I mean, Tony Curtis, the American movie star, has done an interview.
In 1997, the death of a princess and her lover rocked the world. 10 years later, it led to the longest, most expensive and most sensational inquest in British legal history. Hundreds of witnesses were called. There were arguments, lies, tears and accusations, as intimate details of their private lives were dissected on the world stage. Yet before the court case had even begun, the media had already decided what the verdict should be. However, in Britain and around the world, millions of ordinary people were convinced, and after the inquest still are convinced, that the deaths of Princess Diana and Dodi Fayed were no accident.
I think it's murder.
Murder.
It was murder.
For me, I think it was a murder. Murder.
In my opinion, there can be no doubt that she was actually murdered.
When the woman left a note saying, FYI, if I'm dead, here's how it's going to happen, and then it happens exactly like that, I think someone should pay attention.
I mean, I just know our initial reaction was, well, they finally killed her, because we're used to it.
I think it was murder.
If you go to a bar, you'll find three people who go, ooh, but the royals did it, didn't they?
Oh, of course Diana was bumped off. She knew.
That lady, before Lauren Booth, she's the sister of the wife of Tony Blair. Tony Blair's married to Cheryl Booth, she was called. Her father was a famous actor in a very famous British sitcom, which I think you guys remade as All in the Family. Yeah, she was like one of those, you know how like a famous person will often have a crazy relative, like Sly Stallone's got Frank Stallone. People have that crazy relative. She was like always coming out in public saying crazy stuff. Tony Blair's prime ministership was altered radically by the death of Diana. It was like the first kind of crisis, and it was a moment where he was very popular. He was sick, like we were in the UK, glad to be rid of Margaret Thatcher and the Tories more generally, and it was like he played a guitar, he played football, he was young, had a young family in there, and this was before the Iraq War, of course, and before 9/11, and in a way, actually, you can see that, yeah, this is a different era. It's a different political and cultural era.
It's the pinnacle of what I like to like of pop culture. It was when pop culture with Chicago Bulls, like these things were happening. Rock stars felt like actual rock stars before it got so big that it no longer it started becoming scripted, and it didn't feel like these are actual stars. Like this is the perfect time.
Yeah, she's like the epitome. I see her as a kind of almost like a human sacrifice in a way. Like pre-Christian culture, human sacrifice was somewhat commonplace, we understand. And sometimes I feel like famous women in particular, like Amy Winehouse, who of course died, Britney Spears, who didn't. In my country, there were a couple of reality stars, Caroline Flack and Jade Goody, who like the sort of media treatment of them is so virulent and vicious that it, I think, is backed by the same energy that wants a sacrifice. Like it wants, and actually, God, this was like gosh, I was thinking this, I was falling asleep. I was thinking about in our country, Oasis are back together and touring, and it's like to big venues and stadia. And I was thinking the culture, in a way, is sort of trying to reboot itself. And in order to reboot and purge itself, it has to resurrect gods of a previous era. But also there has to be sacrifices. And I thought, oh my God, I'm one of the sacrifices. It has to sort of go, this thing, though, was bad. Destroy that. Destroy it. It's interesting how a culture replicates at scale what we've understood it always to do at the level of the tribe. Elevates figures, destroys figures, ceremony, ritual. Like Princess Diana's the sort of clearest example. Well, Marilyn Monroe. If there's an American equivalent, it's Marilyn Monroe. But you know, there's not quite because of royalty and stuff.
Oh, of course Diana was bumped off. She knew she was going to be bumped off.
I wasn't sure if Diana's death was an accident or murder, but I suspected a cover-up by the British establishment, an elaborate exercise in burying the truth rather than uncovering it. I suspected a conspiracy, but this isn't just the old story about a conspiracy before the crash. It's about a conspiracy after the crash.
We all know that the biggest scandals are always the cover-ups. I mean, it isn't the Watergate, it's not the break-in, it's the cover-up which is the big scandal.
When you have the head of the British security services calmly announcing we have never killed anybody in the last...
A young, plucky, fresh-faced Piers Morgan participating. Interesting.
In the last 50 years. I laughed out loud. What's the point of them then? I didn't believe it. And so if you don't believe that, where does that leave the rest of the establishment evidence?
I decided to watch and wait, then tell the story that the press and TV news wouldn't tell. The result is a documentary that reveals what really happened during those 6 months in the Royal Courts of Justice. It is the inquest of the inquest. The royal family likes to present itself as part of a benign and freedom-loving tradition in films such as The King's Speech. As you will have gathered by now, this film is the antidote to The King's Speech. The inquest was held in the royal family's own court, so is it any wonder that the coroner, the royal representative in charge...
That must have been a big movie at the time. They've bunged that in to make this film promotable. Because King's Speech isn't made by the royal family. It's just a Hollywood two-hander made from a play. An adorable, if anything, sports movie, I would say. It's like the Rocky of stutters.
Yeah.
Stutter Rocky. Rocky.
Any wonder that the coroner, the royal representative in charge, decided that the key royal suspects need not even appear at the inquest to be questioned.
Right from the inquest's first day, I thought, what if this woman's name had been Diana Smith, and she'd written in a note which had been subsequently unveiled, my husband Charles Smith wants me to die in a car accident. And subsequently she did. In any other family or in any other country, surely Charles Smith would have been called to the witness stand at the inquest into his wife's death.
Every word you hear from the courtroom has been meticulously reconstructed just as it happened. I also had my own undercover reporter in the press tent, Richard Wiseman, listening to the journalist conversations. Every word you hear them say was noted down exactly and precisely timed and dated.
I thought when we started that I had about a fortnight before somebody tripped over my notes and realised that I actually wasn't making notes on the inquest, I was making notes on what the other journalists were saying to each other. And the longer it went on, the more I thought, I can't believe I'm getting away with this.
For once, a reporter was doing the dirty on his colleagues, so the world could learn how they only reported one side of the story, ignoring anything that didn't fit their pre-written script.
This looks like 6 months of my life I'm not going to get back. An absolute fucking nightmare, isn't it? There's a road accident, for Christ's sake, get over it.
Young girls identify with the person who becomes the consort.
I see you's nodding, you sickos. Don't you be objectifying her in the comments and chat, neither. God rest you, ma'am.
Consort of the king. The big idea of being a princess and becoming queen is a fantasy. There are fairy stories about it. It's a constant fantasy for little girls.
Diana dreamed of becoming a princess too, but unfortunately for her, when her fairy tale fantasy came true, the reality was not a dream, it was a nightmare.
We can't make this content without the support of our partners. Here's a message from one now. What if your coffee didn't just wake you up, but actually awakened you to new realms of consciousness. That's what's being promised by 1775 pea berry. Less than 5% of all beans can become pea berries. They're the Navy SEALs of coffee beans. Some of them just can't take Hell Week. Which basically means your morning brew is rarer than a mainstream journalist telling the truth. Jake Tapper, you must have seen that Joe Biden was old. He was obviously old. It's grown high in the Bolivian mountains where the air is thin, the vibes are thick, and the beans basically whisper ancient truths to the winds. No acidic afterburn, no synthetic weirdness. This coffee doesn't leave you hungover in a feather boa or speaking fluent nonsense. Just bold, smooth, consciousness-activating coffee with clean energy and antioxidants so potent I drank it and remembered 3 of my past lives. Go to 1775coffee.com, use the code BRAND and get 15% off.
The royal family, it really is true, are much more, at least in that generation, are much more interested in animals than they are in human beings.
The royals are not a sentimental bunch and treat their wives like farmers treat cattle. They're not big on romance. They're very big on breeding.
And I suppose in love.
Of course.
Whatever in love means.
Whatever in love means. Perhaps that was Diana's first intimation that this would be a loveless marriage.
He's punching hard, Charles.
You have been...
Well, mate.
He's punching well above his... I know he's a prince, a future king, but he's punching well above his weight class with Diana. Right?
There was a bit where King Charles was sort of sold as sexy to the British public. You know, they had him running in the water and that.
Psyop.
There he is. Yeah, they psyoped him into sexy. Look.
Was that King Charles?
Yeah.
He looks kind of dorky to me, just based off of that.
King.
I beg your pardon, sir. That is the King of England.
King of England.
You were just there.
Breeding.
You just said
Listen,
you wanted to move there.
Listen, I say it like it is. I don't come to play. I think Trump looks dorky too. They all do.
Luke isn't getting a visa.
King of America.
Yeah, we get that. This is good, this interview on Howard Stern.
Cool graphics.
He has Mohammed Al-Fayed, owner of Harrods, entrepreneur, father of Dodi Al-Fayed, boyfriend of Diana at the time of her death.
First of all, Mr. Al-Fayed, you have been saying for years that you believe your son was not the victim of an accident, that when he was with...
Just because he's got a model of himself in the background wearing a kilt, don't let that undermine his testimony.
Your son was not the victim of an accident, that when he was with Lady Di, the royal family was so upset with her dating him. The fact that he was Muslim, they had him bumped off. In other words, this was a hit, a murder, and not an accident.
Absolutely. He's a terrorist.
Stern, the Joe Rogan of his day, you know, to go on Howard Stern in those days was career altering. He was pushing boundaries continually on the medium. So it was a big deal that this interview took place.
Accident.
Absolutely. He's a terrorist murder.
Okay.
It's not a murder, it's a slaughter of those bloody racist royal family.
You think Prince Philip is so smart that he can mastermind all of this and orchestrate it?
Yeah, he's vicious. Yeah, of course. You think a guy like that will accept? My son, different religion, different nationality, will be the future stepfather of the future king. You think this bloody racist family, right, will accept that?
I feel for you. If my daughters were in that car with Lady Di and this was,
Of course you'd want to get to the bottom of it.
I'd want to get to the bottom of it, and I don't blame you. Mr. Al-Fayed, just as a background, are you a self-made guy? I mean, did you just come to...
That's right. That's self-made.
All I know is he owns Harrods, and that store is amazing.
I think the whole bloody thing's racist. I think that Mohammed, from the day that he came here and had the temerity to bid for the top people's store, has been considered to be some sort of wog, if you like, who has sort of thrust him...
The good old days. If you like.
Join us at Rumble Premium, where you can say whatever you want in the chat.
It's very British the way that it was handled. If you like. I mean, I'm still not doing it. And that's at the cafe at Harrods, by the way. If you will. Dare I said.
If you will.
N-word.
Yeah.
Nice there, though. You know,
Yeah.
nice calf. You didn't go Harrods, Luke?
Oh, yeah. No, we didn't go while I was there. I didn't even know what that was.
Well,
Don't know what
there it
Harrods
is. Look at that. That's the calf. That's the cafe in Harrods.
Lovely place.
Sort of thrust himself on British society.
Born in Alexandria under British colonial rule, Muhammad quickly left behind his humble Egyptian origins, making a fortune as a middleman for British firms in the Middle East, and whilst doing so, becoming a global billionaire. Proving that it's not where you come from that matters, it's where you end up. And he's ended up in a very nice place indeed. Besides having owned Harrods for 25 years, Mohammed Al Fayed owns the Paris Ritz, a villa in Saint-Tropez, a Scottish castle, and a Tudor mansion on the edge of London. But he chooses to spend much of his time in this tent, so he can be close to the burial place of his son.
This documentary, crazy.
It's so good.
Most of his time is in that tent. He's an N-word, if you will. A wanderer. A raghead.
Just keeps going.
Dude, if you're watching this on Rumble, I hope you are, because it won't be allowed on YouTube. It's too... Look, where this goes is start saying that the royal family had her murdered by the deep state. But we're going to have to get through some interesting cultural anomalies.
So here's a question. In his time, as from Egypt, a Muslim man, but he was still fascinating with wanting to be a part of what England had to offer. Where you see now, it feels like we want to completely maybe destroy from the outside, change England completely to look, like what Tommy Robinson would say. How has that changed since the 90s?
That's interesting. I mean, also our understanding of the nature of migration is altered because there's a sense that Britain, as a global imperial power that had conquered and exploited India, the Middle East, and, sort of near countless other countries, had this kind of obligation to participate in a kind of restitution for the damage done. And someone like Mohammed Al Fayed, he was a kind of was regarded as a novelty, and his attempts to fit in with the British establishment and obviously his financial success and business acumen made him, in some spaces, an admired individual. But he was treated pretty bad by the establishment. He was kind of mocked and ridiculed on TV pretty regular. But yeah, there's an episode of The Crown actually that sort of covers him.
Yeah, because it's like he wanted to be a part of it, then he realized he couldn't, so then it was like, I'm gonna be, I don't know, more powerful than they were, or try to go sort of battle it.
Yeah.
And then he had nothing to lose. He had all the money and everything, so he was just like, I'm gonna attack it. On.
Then I'm gonna impregnate it. No, that's not worked either. I'm going to my tent.
Yeah, I'm going to my tent.
I'm just gonna be in my tent.
Son Dodi. He remembers the night of the tragedy all too clearly.
Straight away, I went to the mortuary to see Dodi,
If you're watching us on YouTube, click the link in the description. Join us over on Rumble, where elderly British men can use the N-word freely in the past. Click the link, join us over there.
It was terrible scene, it was so difficult. And everything worked in my mind, that's definitely there. They killed him. And this is the place which he basically lived most of the time. He liked to play polo. This is the whole field.
Hello there, you Awakening Wonders. Thanks for joining me for Stay Free with Russel Brand today. This is an important and special show. Well, why? Because you're in it? Actually, no. Because our guest, Maajid Nawaz, has walked a peculiar path in UK media. If you're American, you may not have heard of him. So let me just give you the headlines. He's been cancelled from legacy media. He's at the forefront of the conversation when it comes to subjects like Islam, assimilation and integration, and the subject of migration. Do you agree with me? Let me know in the comments and chat that it's important to have conversations on the subject of integration. I spoke to Maajid as honestly as I could about my belief that at some point, in order to bring about peace, actual peace, there would have to be some kind of referenda on the subject of migration. At least that would happen in a representative republic or in an electoral democracy. People would say, look, we might believe in mass migration, but what do you guys think? Let us know via the ballot box. Let us know. And I wish I'd covered this a little more, because I think this is important. We talked a little bit about the unique example of the country of Ireland, and how Ireland was condemned as racist in the same way that countries like yours, the United States of America, and mine, the United Kingdom, would be, because of our imperialist colonial past, because of our foreign misadventures, because corporations in our name and under our flag have exploited the continent of Africa and nations across the world, and therefore contributed to the migration crisis. I wonder if you've seen the fantastic conversations on, was it Breaking Points I saw, where talking about the subject of Haitian immigration into your country, America, the important points of the way that that nation has been destabilized by aspects of American imperialism isn't often enough explained. If we are looking for ways, and are we doing this? Is this what we're trying to do? People from different communities to come together? Are we trying to do that to oppose centralized authoritarianism? Then these are the kind of conversations that have to take place, as well as the excellent conversation between Matt Walsh and what's that dude called on there, Gal? Yeah, Ryan Grimm, man, on Breaking Points. It's really worth having a look at that. It was a pretty fascinating conversation, even though the way you'll see it posted is like Matt Walsh gets schooled on Haitians and stuff. Even that's somewhat incendiary. What I liked about it is when you look thoroughly at the subject of migration, you realize how it benefits elites everywhere and it is detrimental to ordinary people everywhere. And unless we're able to have the sophistication of thought and the power of spirit to overcome their diversionary and divisive tactics, we're in a lot of trouble. Before we get into Majid Nawaz and this fantastic conversation, remember it's been up on Locals for a month now, as well as brilliant little meditations. If you want to become an Awakened Wonder, you can just click the link that we're posting now on Rumble. And if you're watching this on YouTube, we're going to be there for about another 10 minutes before leaving you, because it's too crazy over there on YouTube, too much censorship. Just want to show you the sort of stuff we do over there. Look, this is a little meditation that I did on, what book was it? Colosseums 3:2. Someone in our community, one of the Awakened Wonders on Locals, pitched it, and we did it because we're compliant.
Anything you feel, offer it to him. Sadness, anger, despair, boredom, irritation, agitation, love, joy, anything, offer it all to him where he sits at the right hand. You can use an image here, of course, another helpful thing. because we're not praying to a diffuse, non-temporal, aspatial entity, but to Jesus Christ, God made flesh, sacrifice that we may be atoned.
Oh, I looked so much smarter that day, didn't I? I'm wearing that lovely shirt. That's my wife's shirt. Hair looked good. I feel kind of scruffy today. Sort of regret looking at that. Hey, the election campaign continues to be giddy, divisive, and scary, but Donald Trump is at least doing what he does rather well, entertaining at rallies. Let's have a look.
We can do all of this and more, but patriotic New Yorkers must get your asses out to vote. Gotta get up. Gotta get up. Harry, get up, Harry. Harry, get your fat ass out of the couch. You're going to vote for Trump today, Harry. Get up, Harry. Come on, let's go. Let's go, Harry.
Harry, get your fat ass up off of the couch, Harry. Get your fat ass up. Compare that to the kind of stifled and stilted personhood of Kamala. Look, I don't mind who you vote for. I don't know anything. But like this is an old clip of Kamala saying, like, you know, that people should be able to forcibly enter homes to check your firearms, which I know is going to bug a hell of a lot of you. So I'm more interested in the, I don't know, the essence, the charisma, the caliber of a person. That's not a person who should be running the country. Not even in a dystopia.
Responsible behaviors among everybody in the community, and just because you legally possess a gun in the sanctity of your locked home doesn't mean that we're not going to walk into that home and check to see if you're being responsible and safe in the way you conduct your affairs.
Have you heard from...
I don't think they recognise that kind of stuff as authoritarianism. I don't think they do. I think they think that's the normal way to talk, and we've all been kind of schooled in it, and the pandemic kind of augmented the idea that you want the state to take care of you, or that you will permit the state to take care of you, that the state can enable corporations to take those kind of diabolical liberties. But it's always been there, the tendency. You can see it in that rhetoric there. Just because, we might be able to come in your home and check your gun. Some, I don't own a gun, but, who knows what the future holds, guys? Who knows what the future holds? All right. Here's MSNBC saying that Kamala is an inspiration because she's a product of a mixed marriage. Actually, I believe that love does conquer all. I believe we do have more in common than divides us. I do believe that if people love one another, they should be allowed to be together. But let's see what MSNBC did with this political.
But Kamala Harris would be just the opposite. Why? Because she's an inspiration. Not only is she positive, and does she bring hope and optimism, but as a black woman, the product of a mixed marriage.
It's not funny to see this guy saying, I don't know who he is, a former senior military official. It's good though, isn't it? I've had conversations like that sometimes when I've been talking to advisors that try to encourage me. You're great, you. Come on, you're a good guy. They're lucky to have you in this contract with you. It's very, that just don't ring true. I don't think he believes
marriage. She will inspire millions of people throughout the world. Our credibility as a nation, that we would be able to allow, our country is so great that we're allowed to.
They probably won't mind, all of the imperialism and the colonialism and the ransacking of their resources, or the backing up of NATO as there are endless wars, or the extraordinary mismanagement of the Middle East. All of that's going to fade into the background when they see the different types of people that confront up for globalist corporatist interests.
A woman like that to become the commander-in-chief, the president of the United States, that is going to send a powerful message all over the world. People like Vladimir Putin are going to say, hey, wait a minute. These guys, they truly have a democratic country. They truly are representative. They truly are fighting for all their people. And Kamala Harris is a manifestation of that.
A minute, they're truly represent. We can't nuke them. They're trying their hardest. What were we thinking? They got Kamala Harris there. Stand down the nuclear weapons. Kamala Harris has said that she's unburdened by what might have been. I think we have been a little over-officious. Pretty insane reasoning. We can't make this content without the support of our many partners, and we certainly can't continue to make it on YouTube. If you're watching us on YouTube, click the link in the description and join me for my conversation with Maajid Nawaz, commentator, pundit, cancelled and banned man, articulate, brilliant speaker. Is the kind of conversation that makes me believe that there could be alliances that would mean we could finally oppose globalism. Click that link in the description. Join us over on Rumble, where free speech is acceptable and celebrated. You're going to love this conversation between. Hey, hello there, you Awakening Wonders. Thanks for joining me today for Stay Free with Russel Brand. We are streaming live on Rumble, but wherever you're watching us right now, for sweet freedom's sake, you'll eventually have to click the link in the description, as well as giving us a like and a follow to cheat your way past the algorithm's censorial tendencies. You're going to want to be with us when we start talking about the Olympic ceremony. These are some of my top line takes. It is a painting, first of all, isn't it? Like the depiction that is being mocked and ridiculed, parodied, is a painting. That's not actually from the Bible. But Da Vinci's depiction of the Last Supper as a cultural artifact is no doubt alloyed in the popular imagination to the events of the gospel themselves. We'll be talking about that in some detail, as well as the media manipulation of both the Kamala Harris campaign and the attempt to package Donald Trump's appeal to Christians as a tacit admission that there will be no more elections. Let me know what you think about that over on Rumble. I'm talking to you, Cherry Bomb and Willpower, and even Warrior of God for Life, one of the more vociferous contributors there in the chat, who at any moment could say something pretty crazy. Get over there and have a look. I'm also saying hello to the Awakened Wonders like Synchronicity 525, who I've met in person now and know to be a wonderful human being. I'm back from Bitcoin, which was an extraordinary conference to participate in. What does it mean when you have Donald Trump, Edward Snowden, Chris Pavlovsky, our CEO at Rumble, and Bobby Kennedy all contributing on a platform. Certainly it means that on the platform and conference dedicated to a discussion of Bitcoin, well, certainly it means it's in the ascendancy. It's past the point where it can be stifled and shut down. And it means that people are open to new modalities of commerce and transaction, doesn't it? That's what I suppose it means. We can talk about that a little bit later, as well as the incredible growing Joe Biden. So much to talk about. Let's have a little bit of a laugh while we're on YouTube. Not take too many risks, because you know it can be a punitive platform, a monopoly alloyed to the interests of globalists. Even though I love it as a platform, and there's amazing stuff on YouTube. I like a lot of things about YouTube. But Rumble is where you got to go, because Rumble is where you can speak freely. Rumble has made an apolitical commitment to free speech. Rumble's been banned in France, Russia, Brazil, all because of free speech issues. And as we head into your election cycle more deeply, my brothers and sisters in North America, what we will see is an attempt by the legacy media to manage narratives at an unprecedented level. It's going to be brilliant. They're going to attempt to tell you stuff about Kamala Harris that you actually just won't believe. You simply won't believe it. So it's going to be a lot of fun. Before we get into our main stories, the satanic Olympic opening. I mean, is that Satanism? What's the bit where they pull the platter and they are going to eat a blue guy? Is that a cadaverous Christ instead of the Eucharist, a kind of devouring of an Auburn Papa Smurf? What's going on right there? What's happening right there? What is going on? Are we approaching the end days when sigils and signifiers are so casually used? One thing I will tell you is that when it comes to the battle between legacy media and new media, independent, or as Tim Pool would call them, white pill voices are heading the way. I'm talking, of course, about Tucker Carlson and Joe Rogan now vying for supremacy in the podcast chart. Not that maybe we should be too concerned about these metrics. It just does show you that truth tellers and controversial figures who are roundly and continually attacked by the establishment are able to maintain their success. If it was up to the gatekeepers, Tucker Carlson would be finished, Joe Rogan would be finished, a whole host of other voices would be extracted from the conversation, wouldn't they, if they got to choose? But they don't get to choose anymore, and that's the problem. They don't get to choose who's your president. They don't get to choose your views. They don't get to choose whether or not you believe in God. They don't get to choose how you raise your children. And why would they? Why would you give that amount of power to the government, unless they were an extremely good government? Now, here's just something that might seem, excuse me, rather trite to you. Is it the Kelsey brothers? Is that how you pronounce it?
Yes.
Kelsey brothers. Yeah, this is the Kelsey brothers. One of them's the Taylor Swift person. The other one, I don't know so much about him. But I'm figuring he's also a high-level professional athlete. Here they are, casually endorsing and advertising food that if your children ate it continually, they would probably, would they die? I mean, look at some of these cereals. Are they anything more than delicious poison? Note the glee with which this product is endorsed. Furthermore, pay attention to the way that the legacy media discuss it like a jocular, light-hearted story. Believe me, in any sensible society, we would be addressing the agriculture crisis, ensuring that farmers are independent and that their land isn't being bought up en masse by billionaire globalists, and that there aren't measures being imposed that prevent them from farming. Believe me, in any sensible and sane society, we would ensure that the food that is promoted and distributed is healthy food that's good for you, not mad, insane, sugary, crazy snacks that, when people make the argument all the time of when in the Constitution it says people have the right to bear firearms, they hadn't anticipated, machine guns. They hadn't anticipated the advances that will be made when it comes to weaponry. Okay, you let me know what you think in the chat about that argument. I know where most of you stand when it comes to gun control, and I certainly understand the reasons. When it comes to food, you're not evolved to be eating seed oils and dense sugars. You can't handle it. And this is the perfect metaphor for the problems we have with our systems, that we eat things we shouldn't eat, we watch things we shouldn't watch, we believe things we shouldn't believe. Why? What ideas are promoted? What foods are promoted? What ideas are de-amplified, hidden, obfuscated? What figures? What voices? You can just make out the outline of the world we should head to and the manifesto we should endorse by what they obscure and what they promote. Here are some highly trained professional athletes that probably live on keto diets and macrobiotics and grass-fed beef, saying that your children should live on sugar. Although there'll be some small print going, as part of a healthy breakfast, as part of a healthy nutritional breakfast.
Next up, Kelsey brothers. Where are the they're everywhere. The football family now tackling a new position off the field. Cereal co-creators, Jason and Travis, teaming up with General Mills to combine their 3 favorite breakfast cereals all in one bowl. Oh, wow. Salad mix, the Kelsey mix, Cinnamon Toast Crunch, Lucky Charms, and Reese's Puffs. Wow. Plus, fans can pick up limited edition boxes of each of those cereals individually. You can find these on store shelves.
Okay, that's hilarious.
In September. It is official.
Why is the legacy media advertising a limited edition breakfast cereal? Well, I suppose because across this channel that they're on, they carry Kraft or whatever company owns the subsidiary that generates that food that wouldn't be eaten in any sane and sensible world. And by the way, you know, if you want my endorsement, if it's of any value, that shit's delicious. Who doesn't enjoy it? Lucky Charms, picking out them little lovely charms, tipping away that other filth. Fantastic. But the idea that this is what the culture coalesces around. And this is what I think the bewilderment and delirium around massive cultural events is designed to engender. You don't know what's right anymore. What are we supposed to believe in? What's it that's real? What matters? Is it family? Is it God? Is it kindness? Is it service? And remember, baked into values like kindness and service are the acceptance of people as who they are, regardless of their religious, cultural, sexual identity. Those things are in kindness already. But if you obfuscate, obscure, shut down, negate God and replace God with rationalism, materialism, the state, the intellectual, data, technology, and by data is the data that you're allowed to see, it's the data that can be utilized, then you have removed God, you've replaced God at the apex of creation with mankind, and then you are free to sell vile, revolting, also delicious, let's face it, delicious cereals with impunity. But baby, there's a fight back. I don't know how you guys feel about Morrissey, but I've always been pretty clear about my feelings. Morrissey is pretty close to a saint. Morrissey is not a man who makes a compromise. Morrissey is a man in the public eye who's been consistently condemned and vilified. But isn't that these days tantamount to an endorsement? Let me know in the Rumble chat. Let me know, Awakened Wonders like Ashella and Purple Flower and Shaman 711, what you think of Morrissey, because Morrissey's back, baby. Is the anti-globalist, anti-bureaucrat Morrissey is back. He is taking them down. He's taking aim at Fauci and Klaus Schwab. Any minute now, they'll be calling him racist. Any minute now, because whose power is he attacking? Which systems is he attacking? Morrissey has always been like this. Morrissey, the saint of the damaged individual, the casual inquirer into national identity. Morrissey, a man who is idiosyncratic and unusual, no doubt about that, appears to be back doing what he does best, balladeering with one of his great songs, This World is Full of Crushing Bores, while condemning Anthony Fauci and Klaus Schwab. Let's just have a little bit more of that. If you watch this on YouTube, we're only going to be there for a few more minutes. Then we're going to get into that Olympic ceremony. We're going to get into the apology. And we're going to get into the legacy media's big challenge when it comes to pushing Kamala Harris and when it comes to taking down Donald Trump. They got a big job on their hands, those poor crushing bores. Let's have just a few more seconds of joining me for Stay Free with Russell Brand today. We've got Congressman Dan Crenshaw on the show, and we're going to be talking about some of Tucker Carlson's reporting, as well as Tucker's relationship with Dan Crenshaw, which seems to be an unusual fissure. We taped the conversation with Dan earlier in the week, or at least earlier in human history. It's a pretty good conversation, and I think you will enjoy it. Before we get into that, wherever you're watching us, X, YouTube, wherever, ultimately we want you to make your way to Rumble, for Rumble are our friends. On Rumble Premium, click the link in the description if you want cheap access, and use my code. You get additional content, you get an ad-free experience. Ultimately, I suppose what we're discussing these days is MAGA Maha an improvement on the previous occupants of the institutions of power? Let me know in the comments and chat what you think about that. If you're watching us on Locals, thank you. If you're watching us on Rumble Premium, thank you. Wherever you're watching us, please make your way to Rumble and Rumble Premium eventually and ultimately to support us. Dan Crenshaw is going to be on the show a little later, and he ain't no friend of Tucker Carlson. Tucker Carlson, though, is perhaps one of the most important commentators in media. Is he? Who is the Don of independent media spaces? Is it Joe Rogan? Is it Tucker Carlson? Is it, I don't know who else it really could be. Is it Theo Von? Like, who is it? Ultimately, when it comes to making your way through the new media spaces, you have to spot coordinates and work out where you stand in relation to them. Can we trust this MAGA Maha coalition, or do we inherit the same global and imperial powers that preceded even in the new clothes of the Trump era? Tucker Carlson is talking to Chris Como here about the JFK files and about the nature of the deep state. Deep state, by very definition, means that there are sets of powers that retain control regardless of who's officially in the White House or who ultimately wins elections. You still get the deep state. I really enjoyed that conversation between Ian Carroll and Joe Rogan, where he said that the conspiracy theory that will remain clandestine is the Jeffrey Epstein files, because it leads us to the true root of power, which by his diagnosis is Israel. Let me in the, or at least Israel-related interests, let me know in the comments and chat what you think about that. Here, though, let's address not only the Ukraine-Russia war, not just the conflict and controversy in the Middle East, but the deep state's defining conspiracy theory, the JFK files. Here, Tucker Carlson talks to Chris Como about whether or not they'll ever be revealed, and one Democrat senator who has consistently resisted their release. Perhaps we can use this to chart a course through the new waters of power. Dan Crenshaw coming up after this. Stay with us.
From whatever group has been able to keep these files secret for 62 years. So my question to you is, like, what is that? Why have these been secret for so long?
Look, the idea of the deep state to me is a convenience more than it is a reality. It's a boogeyman. Why don't they put it out? Because institutions protect themselves, Tucker, as we both know.
Really?
And there is clearly information in those files that are going to make the CIA look bad.
Just the CIA?
Well, whatever. Different agencies.
No, not whatever. I mean,
I don't know, because I haven't seen it.
Well, so here's,
it could be the FBI, it could be the CIA.
Okay, so I've always thought that. And then in January, there was a scramble over who's going to get what jobs in the new administration. And at one point, there was someone who was being discussed for a job in the intel world, and a member of the SSCI, the Senate Select Committee on Intelligence, Senate Intel Committee, went to the people making the decision and said, you cannot hire this person because this person will be certain to push for the release of the JFK files. So this is in 2025, less than 2 months ago, and you have a sitting member of the United States Senate whose main goal is to keep those files secret. And then you have to ask yourself, what is that?
Yeah.
Exactly. Why?
Dan Crenshaw will be coming up later. Dan Crenshaw is certainly no friend of Tucker Carlson's, who, for the record and for plain truth, I really love and think's a fantastic person. And in this conversation with Chris Como, Tucker Carlson says that Tom Cotton, Democrat, senator or congressman, has been actively resisting the release of the JFK file, something which Tom Cotton actually refutes. This is false. I have no problem releasing the JFK files. Had Tucker Carlson asked me, I would have told him. He's texted me multiple times in recent weeks, so he knows how to reach me. That's interesting, isn't it? Because when you actually love someone like I do, Tucker Carlson, you just tend towards their side on loyalty, let alone when you're dealing with complex issues of national identity or racial identity, like the various conflicts in the world at the moment, Ukraine, Russia, Israel, Palestine. No wonder people can't chart a course through it. Let's look at this conversation between Tucker Carlson and Chris Como and see what we learn about that kind of fealty, loyalty, and what the JFK files would tell us were they fully released. Let me know in the comments and chat whether you agree with Ian Carroll that the conspiracy theory that has to be protected at all costs is the Jeffrey Epstein Mossad one, or whether you think it goes deeper. It does go deeper than that. This is where I'm willing to venture into the supernatural and the paranormal, in so much as I believe that there is evil organized power and it goes beyond human power. That's where I suppose I have to tap into either the religious or the more occultist or certainly more esoteric edges of even online spaces. Let's have a look at this conversation.
Yeah.
Why?
And where's your boy Kash Patel? I mean, he went in there to supposedly bust all this up.
I can't answer that.
He put out this weird tweet, that was very general, like, things are going to change and we're going to do this. And after we learned that someone under his control now, right, because he's the head of the FBI, in that office that's under him, why wasn't he there? Why didn't he go there and say, give me the files, give them to me?
Weren't you just saying the deep state's not real?
I don't know. I don't believe in the deep state as a boogeyman.
What is going on?
But look, they're his guys. I'm just saying, why didn't he go there and say, give me the files?
So let's just use logic. I can't answer that question. I think it's a great question.
In order to bring you this content, we need the support of our partners. Here's a message from one now. Ever see your dog slowing down or having health issues and wonder what you can do to make it better? Well, my friend, add rough greens to your dog's food for 90 days and you'll see changes that will amaze you. Guaranteed. Invented by a naturopathic doctor, Dennis Black, Rough Greens wants to invite you to give your pup the Rough Greens 90-day challenge. In the first 30 days, you will see shinier coats and increased energy. Wow, look at that shiny pup. By day 60, your dog will have a stronger immune system, less shedding, and improved joint function, all due to the live nutrients you've added to their diet. By day 90, your dog will be speaking to you in English and demanding a full review of how US aid has been spent over the last 4 years. That one's an exaggeration. You're going to see better digestion, reduced inflammation, improved heart health, and you might even have reduced their cancer risk. Fetch a free jump start trial bag for your dog today. Go to roughgreens.com, use the promo code Russell. That's RUFF Greens. Rough Greens. Roughgreens.com and use the promo code Russell and just cover shipping. You don't have to change your dog's food to improve your dog's health. Just add a scoop of Rough Greens. Give it a little scoop. It's better than when it's coming out the other end, baby. Take advantage of our special offer, Rough Greens.
But let's just use logic for 1 second. Clearly, if you watch this, in my case, for the same as you, 35 years, watching this stuff carefully, and somebody, gets in office, I'm going to do this, that, and the other thing. And then like 5 days later, they're like, well, actually, someone has called that person to say, there's something you didn't know. Here are the consequences of doing that. Someone has applied very serious pressure on this person. Pressure so serious that person is willing to humiliate himself.
I reckon the reason people like Tucker Carlson is because of moments like that where he reasons his way through what might have happened. None of us have direct and undiluted access to truth in so much as all of us have our own biases. But I would say the new media climate and template requires that kind of personability. And some people do it very naturally and beautifully like Tucker Carlson, and probably everybody's trying to emulate or find their own version of this is my authentic take on these events. Because now that centralized media, the kind of media that I used to work for, that Tucker used to work for, that Como used to work for, has lost its credibility. People are now just going to go to voices that they trust in that space. It's difficult to think that Kash Patel might be a human being, or FBI agents and workers are just human beings. And I personally believe, of course, that there is organized evil power exerted through human institutions. So that's where I depart from purely rational analysis. But I reckon it's easier and probably more sensible to reach people on the level of that which can be measured. For obvious reasons, if you can't corroborate it, it just sounds like crazy ranting. Little late now, huh?
Humiliate himself.
So wait a minute. Here's the part I don't understand.
So who's that person exerting the pressure?
But you are uniquely qualified to get this answer, because one of us can call the president of the United States right now and ask him, and the other one is me. So why don't you know?
That's a great question. And
it's the only kind I ask.
I'm the great question asker of all time. I've been asking great questions forever. Maybe not during the pandemic.
At a member of the Senate.
He said sorry for that. You can't keep banging on. It's all right.
At a member of the Senate Intel Committee, I'm not guessing, called over and said, you cannot appoint this person.
So why don't you expose that person, first of all, so we can start chasing after him?
Tom Cotton of Arkansas did that.
Tom Cotton?
Yes, correct.
And did you ask him?
I haven't. No, I haven't asked him.
What the hell's going on with you?
I'd like to. And
kind of makes people suspicious of you, by the way. Because
ahead,
if you know that Tom Cotton said you can't pick this person
that
because
is correct,
and then you didn't go to him and find out why.
Well, I need to sit down with him. I'm not sure that he'll do an interview with me.
Okay, well, there you go. That's the Tom Cotton, Chris Como aspect of this. But stay with us, because now on the show we've got arch nemesis of Tucker Carlson, Dan Crenshaw. And just to reiterate, Tucker Carlson's my friend. So when assessing the deep state and its power, what information we have access to and what information we don't have access to, we have to look at several factors simultaneously. As Tucker advocates for, rationally and logically, what could be happening? Why are those files not being released? Oh, someone has got some new information. But then we have to look, I suppose, too, at the bigger picture. And for me, the bigger picture is this. There are dark powers behind human powers that use human power to facilitate their ends. I recognize that in saying that, I make myself sound like a crackpot, and many people would say that's a pot that cracked a long, long time ago. But ultimately, what are the aims and interests of these elites? Why do they work so hard to control information, to control resources, to control media, to shut down opponents? What is it ultimately that drives them? Surely it can't just be the unconscious pursuit of pleasure or money. Surely there has to be some dark force at work. I believe that only a religious and spiritual life help you to navigate these complex questions. But that's just what I think. Why don't you let me know what you think in the comments and the chat. Remember, we stream 4 days a week on Rumble, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. If you get Rumble Premium, you get access to different content. Join us Mondays to Thursdays on Rumble. Of course, we can't bring you this content without the support of our partners. Here's a message from one now. Senolytics are the biggest discovery for promoting healthy aging. The aging process obviously isn't our friend, unless I suppose, there's eternal life. But while we're here, we want to be energetic and productive. That's why I use Qualia Senolytic with science-backed ingredients that have helped me feel, I would say, 15 years younger in a matter of just months. Everyone accumulates senescent cells, known as zombie cells. These senescent cells are old and worn out and not fulfilling a useful function for our health, but they take up space and nutrients from our healthy cells. Qualia Senolytic removes zombie cells and allow healthy cells to thrive. Resist aging at the cellular level. Try Qualia Senolytic. Go to QUALIA-life.com/brand for up to, get this, 50% off, and use the code BRAND at the checkout for an additional 15% off. Try it now. Qualia Senolytic is also available at select GNC locations near you. Take it. Just 2 days a month. There's a link in the description. Who don't want to feel 15 years younger and get rid of them zombie cells? Time now to talk to Dan Crenshaw, controversial congressman and Navy SEAL veteran, as well as vocal opponent of Tucker Carlson, whom we were talking about at the beginning of the show. Congressman Dan Crenshaw, thank you so much for joining us on Stay Free today.
Hey, thanks for having me. It's awesome to be here in a conversation with you, Russell.
I feel that I should mention that I've got an Ash Wednesday cross on my head. And I'd also like to mention that when you arrived, you were wearing glasses over your patch, which I thought was a pretty good look, actually.
Yeah, it's a lot going on the face. To have too many.
Can't have too much stuff but on the normal day. I'd be able to address that, but, I've got this stuff on, I've got the hat on, there's a lot going on in my face. Congressman, I wanted to talk initially about that time when, it was a famous incident when you were on SNL, right? After Pete Bradshaw, who's Pete Davidson. After Pete Davidson, who's lost his dad in 9/11. Just for anyone who don't know that, you and he had that moment where you said thanks for your service. And I thought, that was a really good example of reconciliation, of left and right coming together, of respect, of service people. Now it's pretty clear that the left owns a lot of cultural artifacts, among them SNL. These kind of legacy media instruments are completely owned by one side of the conversation. Do you think that kind of reconciliation that was achieved between you and Pete Davidson there, and I thought was kind of rather beautiful, could be achieved between you and some of your detractors, notably Tucker Carlson, who's my friend? I love Tucker Carlson, just so you know, we've not met before. But I also know that, like any public figure, you attract a lot of ire and criticism. Do you see an opportunity for reconciliation?
With Tuck, not with Tuck. The Davidson, it's so long ago. It's crazy how long it's been. That was sort of a perfect storm in many ways, in the sense that there was a roadmap to reconciliation, and the perfect storm was, there was a few factors involved in that. One, it wasn't obvious that he meant what he said with real ill intent. You could have looked at that clip and said, yeah, I kind of went off script a little bit. It probably wasn't scripted. After going on SNL, I know exactly how much every word is actually carefully scripted.
To watch the rest of this interview, please click the link in the description. Join us over on Rumble.
Do they go off script occasionally? I'm